Prime Minister Mark Carney says discussions between Canada and the U.S. restarted this morning after a call with President Donald Trump last night. But the way the Americans are framing it is very different.
It's very simple. Prime Minister Carney in Canada caved.
A blunt assessment of how it all played out from the White House. The two leaders spoke late last night, and then Canada announced it was rescinding the digital services tax. Carney said removing it was part of a bigger negotiation.
It doesn't make sense to collect tax from people and then remit them back. So it provides some certainty.
The DST was intended to collect tax from big tech companies that make money off Canadian users but don't pay Canadian taxes. Carney says the two sides will now work towards negotiating a full trade deal by July 21st.
The White House says you caved. Is that how it went down?
The Prime Minister wouldn't answer that, but the Canadian Chamber of Commerce applauds the move, pointing to the bigger picture negotiation.
$3.6 billion worth of trade crosses our border every single day with the United States. We can't afford to play with that. We need to make sure we secure that.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre believes Carney should have got something in return. Writing on X, in exchange, the Prime Minister should insist that the U.S. immediately rescind softwood lumber tariffs, adding, "We need to make gains for our workers in these talks."
They forced the U.S.'s hand.
Michael Geist specializes in internet and e-commerce law. He says Canada needs smarter tech regulation than to just make web giants pay up.
We've too often looked at these companies as akin to almost like a policy ATM, where we're anxious to do withdrawals to help fund some of our policy objectives, but we haven't really factored in the costs associated with this and some of the potential negative consequences that might come about.
Rescinding the DST would require an act of Parliament, but the Prime Minister's office says instead of recalling the House, the government will simply stop collecting the tax until they can remove it altogether.